lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy, and this time I'm reviewing Sheets by Brenna Thummler. This is a young adult or children's graphic novel, so this is definitely a ghost story. Part of it follows 13-year-old Marjorie Glatt, whose mother has died about a year ago, and the responsibilities of running the family laundromat have fallen onto Marjorie's shoulders. And a lot of the people in town are trying to be supportive and give them business, but at the same time Marjorie is struggling to keep up. She's trying to also do well in school. Her dad has mentally just checked out because of the grief of losing his wife, and Marjorie's also having to take care of her younger brother, and her brother is so young that he doesn't seem to fully grasp the levity of losing their mother. And so there is a ton of pressure on Marjorie from all sides. She's not particularly popular at school. She's awkward and lanky and, a teenager. So that's not easy either. And also throw into this the fact that there is a local businessman who would really like the location that her laundromat is on so that he can turn it into this yoga studio / spa, because it's right on the edge of the lake and it would be very picturesque. Except Marjorie and her family lives in the upstairs of the laundromat, so if they lose the business, they also lose their home, so there's definitely some pressure on her shoulders. The other half of the story follows Wendell, who is a ghost, and we see him in the afterlife, and in this world of a bunch of other ghosts, and it's very whimsical in a way. So all the ghosts wear sheets, so that they can have a physical form and they have something to interact with, and they become a little bit more substantial and they don't just dissipate, I guess. But the ghosts have their own world, and Wendell has to go to school, and he has a youth group with all these other dead children, and it's interesting. It's also a little bit sad and depressing because it means that Wendell died as a child. Wendell also is an outcast, and he doesn't quite fit in with the other ghosts. And he takes a journey back into the world of the living and ends up haunting Marjorie's laundromat. And the two of them eventually interact with each other and slowly start becoming friends. But it's a very interesting and not quite direct route to get there. So this book is somewhere between a children's book and a young adult book, upper elementary to middle school, lower high school in here. It does deal with death and bullying and some heavy topics, but at the same time, it's kind of light and easy and accessible. There is a problem with, I think, the font being too small at times and kind of too hard to read. Actually, the page before it's worse. That's the only text on this entire page, and it's not very obvious. So that's an interesting stylistic choice. I wish the text were more prominent, but there also is a lot of the storytelling happening through the art itself and not necessarily through the text as much as some other graphic novels will have entire spreads where there is absolutely no words. So it's a good mix. The art in this book has a very pastel, subdued feel to it. Wendell's world is definitely lots of purples and grays and lighter colors, whereas the living world with Marjorie is very bright, much more bright, much more colorful, a lot more happening. I think the story's happening around Halloween, if I remember correctly, so it's definitely a good autumnal feel to it. So on the whole, I enjoyed this book, but it also has kind of a strange feel to it. I don't know, I'd read other ghost graphic novels with ghosts for children, Ghost by Raina Telgemeier and Anya's Ghost by Vera Brosgol, and they're more, I want to say floaty, and this one feels a lot more grounded. There's a lot more detailing in the illustrations, and it makes it seem more about Marjorie and our world than about Wendell and the ghosts in a way. Although we do spend a fair amount of time with Wendell, and the fact that we're dealing with death and the fact that her father has mentally checked out is definitely subdues this book a bit more. So this book definitely deals with some of the deeper, harder topics: death, bullying, feeling like a loner and an outcast, having too much responsibility and having to grow up too quickly, It does a good job at balancing that, dealing with really kind of more grown-up topics, but still making them accessible to children, giving them their moment and letting those feelings sink in, but without getting it too deep, too dark, too stressed out. My favorite part of this book, though, was definitely Wendell, and maybe that's why I didn't feel like there was enough of him, is just because Marjorie's important and her story is the bulk of this, but she's not necessarily the most interesting part. Like, I wanted to know more about Wendell's world and about who he is and how he died and what he can and can't remember about living and the society that the ghosts have. Like, all that was what captivated me and what interested me, and I just wish there were more. Not that there isn't that in here. So, on the whole, I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. So, solid read, very enjoyable. Definitely worth your time if you can find it. Let me know in the comments below if you have read Sheets and what you thought of it. If you've read Anne of Green Gables that Brenna Thummler also illustrated, I want to know about that one too. And what are your favorite ghost stories? I also really do like Uneased Ghost by Ray Braskell and Ghosts by Raina Telgemeier. So if you're interested into haunting children's graphic novels, there's some more in this subgenre. Yeah. So, peace out. I love you guys and keep reading. Bye.